The alarm shrieked through Station Helix 7 with the kind of urgency that made even seasoned soldiers flinch. Mariel barely had time to look up from her datapad before the emergency locks engaged, sealing her inside Corridor 9B with a dozen other personnel from various species. The Vrexian beside her, a towering mantis-like creature, clicked its mandibles nervously. A pair of Oluthi engineers pressed their gelatinous forms against the far wall, their bioluminescent patches flickering amber with distress. "Security drill," announced the automated voice, cold and mechanical. "Live predator assessment commencing. Personnel are advised to remain calm and follow emergency protocols." Mariel's stomach dropped. She'd heard about these drills. The Galactic Security Coalition believed in testing their stations with real threats. Controlled, of course, but real nonetheless. And on Helix 7, a frontier station at the edge of explored space, that meant Kithnar cubs. The door at the corridor's end hissed open. For a moment, nothing happened. Then came the sound, a wet clicking snarl that echoed off the metal walls. 6 of them poured through the opening, each the size of a large dog but built like nightmares. Their obsidian exoskeletons gleamed under the harsh lighting, 4 legs ending in razor talons that sparked against the floor. Rows of crystalline teeth lined their flexible jaws, and their compound eyes, fractured and iridescent, tracked every movement with predatory intelligence. Kithnar cubs. Even at this juvenile stage, they were classified as Class 4 predators. On their homeworld, nothing hunted them. They were the apex. The other personnel did exactly what their instincts demanded. They ran, scattered, pressed themselves into alcoves, and activated personal shield generators. The Vrexian attempted to make itself smaller, an impossible task given its 3-meter frame. The Oluthi engineers began cycling through colors rapidly, attempting camouflage. Mariel froze, not from fear exactly. She'd learned long ago that running from predators only triggered chase instincts. Her grandmother, who'd raised her on the edge of Alaska's wilderness, had drilled that into her skull. You stand your ground, girl. You make yourself big, you make noise, you show them you're not prey. But these weren't grizzly bears. These were alien killing machines specifically bred for security testing. The cubs spread out with disturbing coordination, their movements synchronized like a pack that had hunted together for years rather than weeks. One lunged toward the Vrexian. Another backed the Oluthi into their corner. The rest began a methodical sweep of the corridor. Then the smallest one, its exoskeleton still showing the pale gray markings of youth, locked its multifaceted gaze on Mariel. She'd expected this. Every species on the station knew humans were soft targets. No natural armor, no venom, no size advantage. Just fragile skin and vulnerable organs wrapped around a skeleton that could break with sufficient pressure. The cub, Krevi, she'd later learn its designation, approached with its head low, talons clicking a staccato rhythm. Its siblings paused, watching. Mariel didn't run. She didn't reach for a weapon she didn't have. Instead, she did something that would later be analyzed in 17 different xenobiology departments across the Coalition. She crouched down. She made herself smaller. Not in submission, any predator could smell that. But in something else. Something humans had perfected over millennia of domesticating the deadly, of turning wolves into companions and apex predators into purring house cats. "Hey there," she said softly, her voice steady despite her hammering heart. "You're just scared, aren't you?" First drill. Everything's loud and confusing. Krevi stopped 3 feet away. Its siblings had frozen mid-hunt, their attention diverted by this incomprehensible behavior. The prey was approaching. The prey was making sounds. Not screams, not distress calls, but something rhythmic and calm. Mariel extended her hand slowly, palm up. Universal non-threatening gesture, or so she hoped. "I'm not going to hurt you. You're not going to hurt me. We're both just trying to get through this stupid drill." The cub tilted its head, a gesture eerily similar to a curious dog. Then it took a step forward. And another. When Krevi pressed its chitinous head against Mariel's leg, the monitoring room erupted in chaos. Security Chief Varnoth, a 4-armed Gekken with decorated military service, nearly dropped her stimulant pod. The xenobiologist on duty began frantically recording data, his tendrils flying across 3 separate terminals simultaneously. In the corridor, something unprecedented unfolded. The other 5 cubs abandoned their assigned targets. One by one, they approached the human who smelled of something they didn't have words for, something that registered in their predator brains as safe, pack, home, They formed a circle around Marielle, not with teeth bared but with bodies pressed close, seeking warmth and contact. She sat down completely now, letting them investigate her. One sniffed her hair with trembling antennae. Another rested its massive head in her lap, a sound rumbling from its throat that was almost purring. "What is she doing?" Varnoth demanded. The xenobiologist, a Threxian named Pol, shook his head slowly. "She's not doing anything. That's what's remarkable. She's simply being." He pulled up Marielle's file. Human, Earth origin. Look at this. Her homeworld evolved hundreds of predator species. Her people didn't just survive them. They befriended them. They have a documented history of domesticating apex predators for companionship. That's insane. Varnoth breathed. That's humanity, Paul corrected. They don't see predators as enemies by default. They see potential pack members. In the corridor, Mariel scratched behind Krevi's auditory ridges. A guess, but the cub's pleased rumbling suggested she'd guessed right. The Vrexian stared in absolute bewilderment. The Aluthi had stopped their panic cycling and were now pulsing a confused green. The automated voice returned. "Security drill complete. Predators will be extracted." But when the handlers arrived with stunners and containment fields, they found something unprecedented. The cubs refused to move from their protective circle around the human. Krevi, in particular, had planted itself firmly, a low warning growl emanating when the handlers approached. It took Marielle herself to coax them away. Speaking in that same soft voice, promising she'd visit them later, they went reluctantly, looking back at her with what could only be described as longing. The report that circulated through coalition channels later that week would be marked with the highest priority. Human personnel display unprecedented predator affinity. Recommend further study. Potential applications for K9 equivalent programs. But Marielle didn't care about reports. She visited the cubs every day after her shift. And Krevi always greeted her first, the predator who'd learned what humans had known for thousands of years. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the universe just wants to be understood.